Hi, my name is Rob Preisinger-Dank, and today I'm going to be talking to you about drum therapy. One of the essential components of drum therapy is that it's rooted in rhythm. And if you think about it, the first sound or sensation that you had while you were in the womb was that of your mother's heartbeat. And that heartbeat is generally 80 to 100 beats per minute. And that permeates the entirety of our existence for the beginning of our lives. For a lot of people who have experienced trauma, taking them back to that sensation takes them to a regulated condition that pre-exists whatever trauma they may have experienced, even if that trauma was in utero. So what we are attempting to do is replicate that condition. For the client, this would put them in a subconscious condition of security and safety that they experienced in the womb, and may allow for an entry into base functioning or higher functioning by regulating and replicating a situation where they feel comfortable. For groups that you may be working with, the process of drumming does induce the creation of neurotransmitters such as oxytocin, which is a neurotransmitter that is created in order to facilitate bonding between people. So experiences that we enjoy together increases certain neurotransmitters that pairs us. And so using that in a group situation facilitates people feeling connected to each other. And when you think about people who have experienced trauma, they have difficulty regulating the lower functioning, which interrupts the higher functioning and the formation. So this is a beginning of helping them to repair that. And they have also been impacted in their ability to create relationships with others. So again, if you use it in a group practice, it may facilitate that. And particularly like family practices, having families drum together may facilitate the bonding experience. But all this does is gives you a place to start. By promoting self-regulation, we can then transfer into the reparation of the lower and higher functioning. So that is the whole point of drum therapy, is to start a place for healing. So how do we do this? So the first thing that we need to do is to facilitate trust. And a lot of people, when they are given a musical instrument, all of a sudden have performance anxiety. So we have to reassure the client that they are not being judged, that this is part of a therapeutic process, that there is no wrong way to do it, and to talk them through the process that you're going to be working with them with the drum. And it might be beneficial for them for you to be the one that starts the drumming process. Now, what we need within the context of the therapy are some material objects, and of course, one of those being a drum. You can have any size drum. I don't recommend using anything that may be overwhelming like a kettle drum, but something smaller that can fit into somebody's lap or set in front of them that can be played. You also need something to hit the drum with, either a drumstick or a padded mallet or whatever will hit the drum and elicit a reverberation. You can also use your hands, which I prefer because you get this tactile interplay with the drum. But not everybody has hands that are conducive to it. People with arthritis or people with easily broken skin or people with certain degrees of paralysis may not be able to drum with their hands, so a drumstick is beneficial. Keeping in mind that not everybody has hands, but a lot of people will grip with other areas of their body, in which case they can utilize a drumstick with that. There's also some benefit to hearing somebody else drum, and particularly if they can feel the vibrations of the drum. Because again, for people who are hard of hearing, there was a body sensation when they heard the initial heartbeat that can be replicated through feeling the vibrations of a drum. So we also need a metronome. You can either have an actual metronome, which is a wooden box with a needle that moves back and forth at a certain beats per minute and makes a clicking sound. What I'm using is an app on a phone. You can get free metronome apps. Just look up metronome in whatever your app store is. And there's also, if you search metronome on Google, the first thing that comes up is an internal app to the Google search engine that you can set a beats per minute and it will play it for you. So there are a lot of free ways of getting beats per minute. Now, the beats per minute that you would hear from your mother's heartbeat in the womb is between 80 and 100 beats per minute. So I recommend starting with 90 beats per minute. And this creates a lulling sensation in the body and helps the body to replicate that heartbeat. It also, another rhythm in the body is breathing, and heartbeat and breathing generally go hand in hand when we're talking about sympathetic and parasympathetic responses. When your sympathetic system is engaged, your heartbeat may increase, your breathing may increase. So by starting with a lower beats per minute, a normal beats per minute, then you can facilitate normal breathing and heartbeat. So I'm going to start by playing the 90 beats per minute. So it's a fairly regular rhythm, and that's what we're going to start with. And again, with you as the therapist, you may just start by playing that rhythm for the client. And then have them join in whenever they're comfortable doing that. You can talk about that this is what generally a resting heartbeat sounds like. And then what you can do from there is say that what we're going to do is play that heartbeat, and then we're going to replicate what happens when the fight or flight instinct is engaged, your sympathetic system. And we're going to speed up that beat. And when that beat speeds up, and you can do this as well while I'm playing this, you can do this on your lap, but you can replicate the beat and feel in yourself what happens when you speed up the beat, if there's any changes that you're noticing in your sensory environment. So let's start again. And we're going to speed it up. Now, one thing to notice when you speed it up and you feel things accelerating, also notice that the more sound there is, the more difficult it is to hear anything else. So this is a good way to introduce that when the sympathetic response is engaged, it tunes out basically any other functioning. All you're doing is preparing for fight or flight when that sympathetic is engaged. So the louder and more erratic the heartbeat gets, the harder it is to make decisions in a rational way. So what we would do is then take them from that frenetic drumming back to a regulated heartbeat. So let's start from that fast rhythm and then bring it back down to that 90 beats per minute. Now, as what just occurred with me, when you're slowing back down to the regulated heartbeat, it takes a little while to get back into sync. And that's another good point of entry for talking about that after the fight or flight is engaged, it does take a while to get back into a regulated pattern. And that trauma interrupts that normal progression from the sympathetic back to the parasympathetic. It doesn't allow you to fully get back into sync. You may feel like you've calmed down, but there's still something that's off. So encouraging clients to drum at home to and use their own metronome in order to get to that 90 beats per minute can help them in their daily lives elicit a physical response to what they're dealing with in trauma. Particularly if they're feeling anxious, that might be a good opportunity to sit down and play at that 90 beats per minute. Now, if you read the written instructions that I've included with this video, there's a lot of places you can go from this initial exercise, or you can completely switch over to whatever your preferred modality of treatment is. But it's a good way to start the session to get them back to that 90 beats per minute. Play that for a while, let that sink in, let the client feel what it is to be regulated again, and then start a conversation. So I'm willing to answer any questions you may have about this trauma technique, trauma treatment technique. Just reach out to me. But I wish you luck in trying this on your own. And if you want to try this with clients, I would love to hear how that worked out. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.